Hey, this is Sam, and I'm going to be presenting XML external entity injections. So, what is an XML external entity injection? Well, it is known as XXE and allows a hacker to mess with the process of an application. External entity injections also allows the hacker to view any files or really important documents that you have on the server, and if some harder cases, it allows you to interact with the backend processes of any of the external systems so they can understand the process of how everything runs. And in really extreme cases, it can compromise the whole entire infrastructure of your server by creating SSRF for. And there's a server-side forgery attacks, and we'll talk about those more later on. So just looking at the picture to the right, it just shows a little quick diagram of what it is. So hacker identifies the application with, hacker identifies it, the problem. He goes through, makes an injection, and usually from there goes the hacker server, which is just sending it right back up to the application for it to run. Then it gets all the information from the server and then just repeats the whole entire process back through until the hacker gets really sensitive information that he can use to exploit and use other things with. So how do these vulnerabilities come up? Usually these vulnerabilities come up when they're actually trying to transmit data. So usually when they're trying to bring in information from what I've given them into the server and let the server process stuff, and these can happen mostly because they're using a standard library that have some interesting and really dangerous problems and parse errors that, as long as if you're not using it, it just won't just think that's right, and that can cause some errors that can allow people to hack in and exploit your systems. So as you see to the right to the picture, this is just the base kind of starting out what it is. So these would be the information. So the first user is the admin and the second user is just a regular user, and I'll show you another picture later on where someone's hacking in to try to make himself the administrator so he can have admin rights and do other things. So we'll talk about four different types of XML attacks. So first one will be exploiting XML to retrieve files. Next will be XML to perform SSRF attacks. Exploiting blind XML infiltrate data out of band, which I'll talk about later, and exploiting blind XML to retrieve data via error messages. So as you can see in this picture over here to the right, this is actually the bottom one, which is Alice, the new user. They're actually trying to make another injection attack to become the top user, which as you can see, he's going to make a hacker. And then if you see way at the bottom, he is making himself user ID 1, which is allowing him to become an admin. So you see in this one, you can see where the entities contains the contents of the file. You can see the XML to perform SSR attack. That's usually how to interact with the backend systems and to get URLs. They're even not hidden. I mean, they're shown or they're not shown. They'll still try to get able to them. And with the blind ones, it's moved from the app server into the hacker's control, allowing it to still interact with it. And there'll be other. It's usually harder, but there's a lot of errors to that. And using the data retrieve errors, between error messages, which use those error messages, you can contain a lot of important information. So the first one we'll talk about is using XML to get files. So the first one you can do is perform an injection attack that retrieves files from a server. To perform this, you'll need to edit the doc type element to show the path of the file you want to get to. As you can see in the picture down here, you can see him trying to actually get to the file. So this is not correct, but this is just an example. He is going to passwords, and using the payload, you can retrieve password files and the content to include, the IDs, passwords, and any other information. As you can see in the picture to the right with the response. There's the passcodes. There's no logins or logins here. So the next one would be using XML for SSRF attacks. Now, using XML to perform SSR attacks, you can perform server-side request forgery, and you can make HTTP requests to any URL within the server. Using the SSR attacks, you can view the responses from the URL that the application has responded to, and you can also have open interaction with the back systems. You get a really in-depth, and you can cause a lot of trouble with this because you can get a lot of information from stuff, and you can also see how everything is processing and running. So as you see in this picture in the left one, he's changing the product ID to an open thing. So then he says invalid product ID with the latest. That's actually allowing him to get into the back end system and then figure out what is happening, the variable name with that, and how he can go on with this. Our next one after that is blind XML. And it's actually the application not returning any values. So it really won't give you a direct access to the server files, but you can still attack the application. You can use really difficult methods. You can still use XML parsing errors to get information on the error messages that follow. So usually what that does when the error messages, you're going to be sending them information, and then once it doesn't understand how to process it, and it's like that really bad way of, when you destroy a program, as we've done it before on the application we've done previously, You usually need to find like what's the file path, what's the name of stuff, what's the application name, are there any persistence errors or anything. And as you see in the picture to the right, these are just injection things, how they'll do it. So you can actually extract some of the XML file structures from it. And you can do like get the child, get the first node of it, which is usually their ID, and then you get the child nodes after that, which could be the name, social security number, or any other information that falls behind that. You can also use XML tags getting with file uploading. So when an application allows you to upload files to the server, you can use the process to upload actually your XML tags as images or documents. So the really tax works because the image processing library is used to process all the files you're uploading, and when you do that, you can actually upload errors, and you can also upload bugs or any other attacks that can allow you to get information or anything else. And some attacks with the file can be completely mitigated if you just don't upload the correct file. So you have to make sure you get the correct files if you're actually wanting to pursue this. Because if they don't do it, it won't even run the processes. It just doesn't figure out the right doc type or the right image type, and it'll just completely mitigate it. So you see the picture below. This is actually a way how he's doing it. So he's making an entity system, and he's making an injection attack, and he's trying to get information from it, as you can see by the image below. And then this is just a really quick screen slide of just what it is. So as you can see, file upload is pretty high up there. It's third highest. And as you can see up top, you can actually XML and external entities. That just means that they're not as popular, but they're still widely used. You can see cross-site scripting and SQL injections are really popular, but it's still something to be concerned about. How to prevent them? One of the easiest way you can help prevent them is by disabling all extra features that are not needed for your application to run. Or another smart way to help protect XML attacks is to test your application yourself. Try to measure as many attacks you can. If you have any file retrievals, that's the first one you always want to do because you don't want to have a whole entire contents of all your passwords and all your IDs. And that's just the first one that everyone always recommends you going up against. And then here's my summary. So it's XML external entity injection. It's also known as XXE. Best way to protect your application is by saving all extra features that you won't be using. The four types of XML externally entity injections that I've talked about are file uploading, SSRF attacks, blind XML attacks, and XML attacks getting files. And these are my sources.